That's the number 2 and number 3 pass catcher for the Commanders in terms of catches and yards that they will be down. So they've still got McLaurin, who's going to get a ton of attention, obviously. They've still got Ertz, who doesn't do a lot after the catch, but is pretty reliable at getting open in the middle of the field and at least moving the sticks in big spots. McLaurin, 61 catches. Ertz, 52 catches on the year. McLaurin's gone for 896, and Ertz is over 500 yards as well. But then you've got Noah Brown, 35 for 450, and Eckler, 33 for 350, both out moving forward, which means at receiver, Zacchaeus, De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, one of or all three have to step up. And at running back, clearly, Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols are going to have to step up as well. Although I don't know how much either of those guys is going to be catching the ball out of the backfield. But Danny, for a team that I would say was about as lucky as you can be at keeping your skill position players on the field for the first 3 quarters of this season, all of a sudden now, 50% of your top 4 pass catchers going to be out for the stretch run.
Yeah, it is. And listen, this is what happens. This is this league. The injury rate is really, really high for a reason. So they dealt in spurts without Robinson, dealt in spurts without Eckler. This will be the longest they've been without him, certainly. But now you drop Noah Brown from that group as well. And all of a sudden, to your point, you're thin. It's guys that aren't tested just yet. Maybe they step up. Maybe you get more production from Luke McCaffrey, who we've been talking about off and on all afternoon. Maybe you get KJ Osborne to step in quickly and be kind of the missing link. Who knows? But I hope, or I think, or I wonder, instead of I've seen, right? And that's kind of the variable here for a team that's now playing meaningful football. If they were 5-11 at this stage, whatever, let the kids play. Let's see what happens. They're not. They are in the postseason if it started today with the Rams hot on their tail. They play Atlanta, who's got something to say about it if they're able to make the postseason or not. Later on in their schedule, you got Philadelphia again, a Dallas team you owe something to. So this is now meaningful time for guys that are unproven.
I think that the loss of Brown is actually harder to make up than the loss of Eckler, which seems odd to me because I thought Eckler, especially early in the year, was one of their most important players offensively. And I would say that that's a bigger loss because Eckler can make more big plays. First of all, he's great as a kick returner. Been awesome in that role this year. But he has ripped off some big runs. He has been awesome out of the backfield, making plays after the catch. How many times this season have they opened games where he's been involved on 2 or 3 of the
Eckler
first?
One way, Eckler the other way. Eckler, Cincinnati game is the perfect example.
Same
This
with
is
Philly.
Austin Eckler drive, everybody, and you go, wow.
It's like their road game thing. They have him out there as a veteran, a calming presence. They check it down to him with like a designed little screen. He picks up a handful, then they throw it to him the other side of the field. They get a first down and they're moving, and it's 1st and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that, and it's by design, I think. So I do think he is a more important player. I don't think that's debatable. But I think that they can more easily replace Eckler than Noah Brown down the stretch based on having Robinson, who can just elevate his role as a rusher. The fact that Rodriguez, the 2 times he's played, has been really good.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that McNichols has flashed a bunch this season. We haven't really seen Michael Wiley, but I still think just based on the preseason, he can play a little bit. I just think they're way better at the running back position. So is it possible for me to feel like Eckler's the better player and the more important player, but the loss of Brown is probably actually larger?
Interesting. I mean, sort of given the context of the position,
Yeah,
I don't think that's
where
crazy.
I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I not only lean, I give it to Eckler in terms of who's more important not to have. But I see your point, I guess is what I'm saying. Like to be the I don't know, the world's tallest anthill can be more significant given your perspective than, something in a kind of more crowded field, right? So for me, Eckler, his running ability as a ball carrier, you're right, easy to replace with all due respect. And I like him a lot. And I'm get to his value in a second. Guys have run the ball just as effectively, whether it's Robinson, Rodriguez, they're slightly different players, but you've seen McNichols run it effectively at times as well. To me, it's in the pass game where he's irreplaceable. The easy button that he provides to turn a little hitched, a little sideways screen or something into 14, or keep the chains moving, or a check down that goes for a first down, the volume for him, to me, is just that much more important for this offense. It's whether it's staying ahead of the chains on 1st and 2nd down, whether it's getting that 3rd down conversion, just his touches. And when he's there, it's this safety outlet to me that where Brown has been more consistent in that regard. But I see your point.
But they have guys I think that can do that, not as well, probably. We haven't really seen anyone do it what Brown does. In other words, like at the running back position, I think you can throw the ball to Brian Robinson and he can have success. We've seen it for years, actually. Last couple of years, he's done that at a pretty high level. We just haven't seen any, like we're debating, can Luke McCaffrey step up, or is Olamide Zaccheaus able to run the same stuff? I mean, heck, KJ Osborne might be able to get on the field pretty quickly because that second receiver role is kind of such a wasteland, so to speak. Whereas running back, they're pretty loaded. But Eckler, there's just no denying how good he was at times this season. I thought there were games where he was their best weapon early in the year. Like in September, you take Jaden Daniels out of the question. I thought he was kind of their best weapon.
I'm convinced of that.
Yeah,
I think that at all times. I mean, again, it's
I wouldn't say at all times because Robinson has been there. I mean, he's run for 130 yards and 120 times a couple times where Eckler's had 4 carries and 2 catches.
Sure. But I'll give me the weapon that is Eckler, where you have to respect all of it. You got to defend every blade of grass horizontally, etc.
There's games where he gets a couple of touches.
Sure. Yeah. But I don't,
not involved.
Well, I don't think that changes the level of weaponry, if that makes any sense. I mean, it all depends on how you quantify it. I mean, but to me, not having him, I think you have to rip things out of the playbook. I think there's a reason they're not flaring Chris Rodriguez out. They're not motioning Brian Robinson into a stack formation and flipping him a screen because I don't think they believe in it. I don't think they really want to do that. Whereas with Eckler, you're damn right you do. You line him up where he's hiding in the backfield as a fullback, like Robinson's standing up a little bit higher with his hands on his knees. Eckler's down like super low, where his defenders are peeking over the line to see if you can see him. You're not really sure which way he's running once the play starts. That kind of stuff he provides that nobody else can, I feel like. Because we haven't seen it. But you may be right that maybe, Chris Rodriguez could do that.
Well, it's not even necessarily like it's 2 plays a game that you're talking about, maybe. Noah Brown's on the field for 40, and we're not sure that anyone can provide it. Eckler, if you look at his season, the games where he's caught 5 or 6 balls are pretty few and far between. So if you're saying, well, the receiving part of his game, which I agree with, is the hardest thing to replace, his catch totals by game, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Like, so there's twice a game where he could do a thing that maybe Jeremy McNichols can't do. Whereas Noah Brown's out there 35, 40 times on passing downs, and we just don't know. Hopefully Luke McCaffrey can be him. Hopefully KJ Osborne in 2 weeks is comfortable enough in the offense. Maybe it's a lateral move. By the way, we should talk more about Osborne next hour or maybe next. For those of you that don't know, he was claimed by the Commanders. He was waived by the Patriots. That's the scary part. If you can't get on the field in New England, where they have one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the league, what is that?
That's not great.
What went on there? I need some intel on how that happened. Because I actually watched a lot of him in Minnesota the last few years, and he was a really solid third wide receiver.
Pretty effective, yeah.
It was him and Justin Jefferson before they drafted Jordan Addison.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 50 for 650, 60 for 650, and then 50 for 540. 3 straight years from 50 to 60 catches and right around 550 to 650 yards, which is about as good as it gets for a 2.5 or a 3. But he went to New England where you would have thought he would have had more opportunities, and he couldn't get on the field.